Yeah, so Tim Sanders is the author. I owe a lot to Tim. What's a cool story about that is, I had never read a book. I was 23 at the time. Never in my life, like ADHD since I was 11, prescription drugs, all that stuff. Finally got off of it, but just couldn't find myself to read. 2 failed startups, and thought, you know what? There's probably a better way to build a business, and it's in those books. And so that was the motivation. So I went to this bookstore in Ottawa, Canada. And not only was I not a reader, I didn't even buy a physical book. I bought the audio CD. So I was like, and there was this Love is a Killer app because I'm a tech guy, and a killer app is kind of a software thing. And he used to work he was a COO at Yahoo. So I buy the audio book and I start listening to it, and it just spoke to me. And I mean, that book, if there was one book that you'd want as the first book to set the foundation for you as an entrepreneur, you couldn't have picked a better book. I mean, he argued 3 elements. One, your network is your net worth. So invest in your relationships and be a good person. 2, acquire knowledge for your customer. So not even read books for yourself. This is what I really loved about it was, fill your brain like a knowledge bank for your customers or the people you serve in the world. So go a step further and read for other people. And then finally, just be a good person. What he calls a love cat. I could never jive with that language, but whatever. So it was just really don't be an asshole. Be a good person. And so here's the crazy part. Read the book. 23. Finally start my first company, Spheric. That company, super successful, 4 years, 150% year-over-year growth. And every year I would email Tim. And I would just be like, hey, Tim, I read your book, really appreciate it. Just want to let you know I finally made a decision to start another company. Next year, hey, we grew, we broke $1 million in revenue. Thank you so much again for your inspiration. I've read 25 books, whatever it was. And for, 10 years, 11 years later, I finally get on a Skype video chat with him 6 months ago. And turned out he was watching my YouTube videos and thought they were really good and wanted to ask me about it and just connect finally. So 11 years as a virtual mentor, a guy that wrote a book, probably had no clue that he would be speaking to a Canadian kid that grew up in a real troubled time and eventually found success in software. And so to me, that what's cool about it is I'm just such a big fan of helping people find that love for reading. I've read over 1,000 business books since then. It's one of the most important things I do every day. Like I mentioned, an hour a day easily. That Love is Killer app, highly recommended for everybody watching.